So can I ask you a question?
What do you have? Go ahead. No, that's enough. Go ahead.
Can I ask? But that wasn't my question.
The problem is you don't write the truth. So, as far as I'm concerned, I want to go to the next
Can I
one.
ask you a question about?
No, not CNN, please. Go ahead.
The White House has not
You don't.
responded to these
I told you.
allegations.
CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me. Go ahead, please.
But he says he was retaliated against, and that's why he was removed from his job. Do you have a response to that?
Okay, next question.
Mr. President, I have.
To hire a spokesperson just so that Elon Musk doesn't put out tweets that then confuse federal workers.
Are my press briefings not good enough for you, Jackie?
You're going to see some young faces in the next Trump administration. The president-elect announced his press secretary is going to be Karoline Leavitt. She is just 27 years old. She was a press secretary for his campaign. She was a fierce fighter and defender of his, both on the airwaves, going on all the different shows, and behind the scenes working with the press. So no surprise that he picked her. She was also a super young candidate not so long ago. In the 2022 midterms, she ran for Congress in her home state of New Hampshire. She did not succeed and then went on to work for the Trump campaign. And she's part of that new generation that was actually a big reason why Trump won the election. He won the youth vote by a way bigger margin than most Republicans have in recent years. And now he's bringing those new faces into his next administration.
Now, before I take questions, I would like to address an extremely dishonest narrative that we've seen emerging over the past few days. Many outlets in this room have been fear-mongering the American people into believing there is a constitutional crisis taking place here at the White House. I've been hearing those words a lot lately. But in fact, the real constitutional crisis is taking place within our judicial branch, where district court judges in liberal districts across the country are abusing their power to unilaterally block President Trump's basic executive authority. Sure.
So U.S. consumer confidence fell this month the most since August of 2021. What is your message for Americans who are concerned about the impact of things such as tariffs on prices?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for that question. It's obviously an important one. The president campaigned on reigniting the Trump economy and fixing the mess that was created by the previous administration in this country, and they must be held accountable.
And something different. There is now a member of the European Parliament from France who does not think the U.S. represents the values of the Statue of Liberty anymore. They want the Statue of Liberty back. So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So the United States asked that. Mary.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. I wanted to ask about this video that I saw this morning set to the tune of, I believe, Closing Time, about deportations of illegal migrants. What's the strategy behind the White House's videos they've been putting out on this, and can you kind of talk us through the thinking on these videos?
Sure. We are unafraid to message effectively what the president is doing on a daily basis to make our communities safer. And the specific video you referenced, I think it sums up our immigration policy pretty well. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Go ahead. Without his consent or knowledge. And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Caitlin. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the president of the United States autograph without his consent.
Is on the record talking about issuing preemptive pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon? That's a question you should ask the Biden
Is
White
there any
House.
evidence on that he wasn't aware of that?
You're a reporter. You should find to the woman in the purple, because I saw you were making a face at my previous answer. So what's going on?
Well, actually, I have a couple of questions. At the core of pro-Palestinian protests on college campuses and elsewhere is a demand to end the war in Gaza, a goal that this administration actually supports and has pursued. So why has this not been acknowledged or highlighted even?
Because these colleges in these protests have again put out Hamas propaganda. The only reason Democrats have changed their minds on Tesla is because Elon Musk changed his mind on Donald Trump. That's the bottom line. I know AOC, for instance, used to drive a Tesla. I'm not sure if she still does. If she still does, it's because she knows it's a great American-made product. And that's why President Trump was proud to review some of those models at the White House yesterday. He ultimately went with the red sports model. It's actually sitting at West Exec right here at the White House now. But as you said, the president purchased the Cybertruck for his granddaughter, which is a very nice gesture. He campaigned on no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security benefits. He is committed to all three of those things, and he expects Congress to pass them later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
That's
they don't get charged on foreign companies, they get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you are trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press. Past 4 years, we've seen the Biden administration spend money like drunken sailors. It's a big reason we've had an inflation crisis in this country, and it's incumbent upon this administration to make sure, again, that every penny is being accounted for honestly.
Why impose this pause with so little notice? Why not give organizations more time to plan for the fact that they are about to lose, in some cases, really crucial federal funding, at least for a period of time?
There was notice. It was the executive order that the president signed. There's also a freeze on hiring, as you know, a regulatory freeze, and there's also a freeze on foreign aid. And this is, again, incredibly important to ensure that this administration is taking into consideration how hard the American people are working. And their tax dollars actually matter to this administration. You know, just during this pause, DOGE and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOGE and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that...
Are any officials here preparing to fight Democratic lawmakers in the streets?
Absolutely not.
So
thanks for the question.
Some elected Democrats are so steamed about DOGE. Congresswoman LaMonica McIver says we are at war. Ilhan Omar says we might actually see somebody get killed. And Chris Van Hollen says we have to fight this in the Congress. We have to fight this in the streets. So what now?
And may I just point out, if you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers. That's all that is happening here, and for Democrat officials to incite violence and encourage Americans to take to the streets is incredibly alarming, and they should be held accountable for that rhetoric.
It sounds like something that they're most concerned about is DOGE engineers with access to Treasury systems. Can you clarify, do the DOGE engineers have read-only access in these systems, so they are not allowed to write new code? They are.
Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
Can they have one of the worst first? They all have a criminal record?
And welcome to the break.
If they broke our nation's laws, yes, they are a criminal, yes.
Snoop Dogg.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever this video finds you, welcome to Tiggs. What's up, AB? If you want to come up, hit one. I'll email you the link. I know I took a week off. I got sick. Not bad. It wasn't bad, but it was bad enough to where like I'd be sweating. I'd wake up, I had to change my t-shirts at like 3 something in the morning. Like I was sick. I don't know if I caught like spring summer cold or what, and I was all coffee and whatnot. I didn't want to come online and make videos being all nasty like that. So I took a week off, made sure I was good, pretty much decongested, and here I am. And I have to laugh because somebody called themselves trying to call me out, talking about some, you don't never talk about black news no more. And I'm like, well, what is black news? Explain to me, what is black news? I mean, to use Lewis's phrase, like, what is it? D and P politics, Richard and Taco figured out. I'm supposed to go with that. Am I supposed to talk about that all day? Like, that's boring. Like, that holds no weight in life whatsoever. I'd rather talk about serious things. I care less about, and I know I did it this morning, the whole Shannon Sharp and Shador Sanders thing and whatnot, because, I'm just getting my sea legs back. At any rate, let's get back into reality and the things that truly affect us. Ooh. So this is what happened over the week, the past couple of days. Let's get into it.
We're learning more about the arrest of a former New Mexico judge and his wife, who are now in federal custody. They're accused of helping a suspected gang member living in their home hide evidence. News 13's Gabe Chavez details.
All right, so let's be honest. This guy was a former judge. This is his wife. I don't know how far in the details this video goes, but they were breaking phones and everything. And I'm thinking the only reason why he would let a gang member, Trende Alagra, live with them is because he was in the cuck world. If you know anything about white male relationships with their wives, once the sex gets a little stale or whatnot, they let their wives take on lovers. They'll film their wives with their lovers. I mean, look, those of us, we've been on the internet long enough. We know all about the amateur videos, the wife in the hotel room or the marital bed, sometimes in her wedding dress, sometimes more than it's a party of 3, party of 4. All right, they go on vacation. Rodriguez gets the backshot Becky while the husband films it. I mean, let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. At any rate,
a now disbarred judge is on the other end of the law after he and his wife were taken into federal custody yesterday. Homeland Security arrested former Doña Ana County Magistrate Judge Joel Cano and his wife Nancy at their Las Cruces home. This comes after an alleged Venezuelan gang member has been staying in their home while being investigated by Homeland Security. Federal court documents show Kristen Ortega Lopez was arrested in February by federal agents under suspicions of living in the country illegally and allegedly being involved with the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua.
Look at this. He with the whole family. Hold up. He with the whole family. Young daughter. I think this is a girl too. I'm not sure. He with the whole family. Trust me, he is not there for, well, he is there for milk and cookies. I mean, you see he's standing next to his girlfriend, which happens to be his wife. He's standing next to his girlfriend. Oh my God.
When he was taken into custody, federal documents stated that Nancy maintained communication with Ortega Lopez and even tried to help him delete his Facebook account, something that held evidence that was needed in his criminal case. Federal documents also show that when Ortega Lopez was arrested, one of the phones he used was still in the home and may have had other incriminating evidence against him. Another search warrant was issued to find that missing phone back in March, but police say that Joel Cano admitted to destroying the phone and throwing away the pieces.
I wonder why.
KRQE, News 13.
I wonder
Cano
why.
is facing a tampering with evidence charge, and his wife is facing a conspiracy to tamper charge.
I wonder why. Why'd you destroy the phone? I wonder what type, because this, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. You can destroy all the phones you want to. Edward Snowden told you what the NSA, what they were doing. They compile all your data, even on a disposable track phone. They compile your data. All you need is a warrant to pull it. What's the number? Wait, let me check the warrant. Okay, what's the number? You got any dates? Oh, you want it all? Okay. Give us a minute. Oh, you brought your own portable hard drive. All right. Click. All right. We'll transfer it. We'll let you go out into the lobby. We got some coffee, some Danishes. You know, you can go to the cafeteria. We'll let you know when you're, matter of fact, here, take this buzzer. We'll let you know when it's ready. You're not getting away with nothing. You destroy the phone for nothing. Right? Ain't no hiding these days. You live in an Orwellian society. Everything you do that has a camera involved or a phone involved, they got you. You ain't getting away with nothing.
A Wisconsin judge is out on bond after she was arrested Friday by the FBI. Federal authorities say that the judge interfered with the arrest of an undocumented immigrant. This is the latest in a series of recent confrontations between the Trump administration and the judiciary over immigration. NBC News national correspondent Aaron Gilchrist is with us this morning in Studio 1A with more. Aaron, good morning.
Peter, good morning. FBI agents grabbed that Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan in the courthouse parking lot early Friday morning. That's according to a senior law enforcement official. Now, Dugan faces 2 federal criminal charges here: impeding a U.S. government proceeding and concealing an individual to prevent discovery and arrest. The FBI director, Kash Patel, said in a post on X that's now been deleted that Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents when that defendant, Eduardo Flores Ruiz, was in Dugan's courtroom. He was there on local domestic abuse charges, Peter.
Let me tell you something. I keep telling y'all to move away from the Democratic Party. These white women are crazy. I mean, I don't have to tell y'all that. For those of y'all who are my black audience, I shouldn't have to tell you that these white chicks are crazy. This woman is crazy. The details of this case, this woman is crazy. You let your Trump derangement syndrome hit you so hard that you are willing to spend decades, at least 20 years in prison to protect an illegal gang member who was in your courtroom, who assaulted 2 people, almost killed the guy. And then you had morons saying, how you know she did it? Excuse me. A courthouse has this just about the same amount of security cameras as the average bank would have. There's cameras everywhere with audio in the courtroom, outside the courtroom, down the halls, by all of the exits, outside of the court. There are cameras everywhere with audio. That's why when you in a courthouse, shut up. Shut up. Say very little, because everything that you say in a courthouse can be used to, against you. You can be out in the hallway. Yeah, I deleted them. I ran over 6-7 times, but you know, they ain't gonna throw me in jail. Watch what I tell the judge. And then you go in there and tell the judge, oh, my foot slipped. And roll the tape, Larry. Show you out the hallway an hour ago, admitting to the crime. Oh, that's how they know she did it. They watched her do it. Oh my God, but I swear, they really think that they're having their civil rights Rosa Parks moment, protecting illegal gang members that were deemed as a terrorist organization. Because what value does an illegal gang member bring to the United States? What is their value? They're not working at construction sites. They're not farming. They're not working at hotels. All right? These people don't hold jobs. Their job is to terrorize, to rape and murder and assault, sell drugs. They cause chaos. That's why they're deemed as a terrorist organization. They have to go. She act like she's protecting a father of 5 who, working 6 jobs, who, they were being racist towards me as I beat the crap out of this guy and my ex-girlfriend. Nobody.
Aaron, so what exactly is the judge?
Nobody is more anti-American now than Democrats. But this is the party y'all want to align yourselves with. I'm an independent.
Judge being accused of here. Detail what this accusation is.
Well, Peter, court documents say that Dugan confronted arresting agents in the hallway before she directed Flores Ruiz and his lawyer through a non-public door in the courtroom there. And now the documents say that Flores Ruiz was removed from the U.S. in 2013, and he had a deportation order against him again. Now, agents ultimately arrested him outside the courthouse on Friday. This is another salvo in the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration and that fight it's been having with the judiciary. The White House, we know, has threatened to take legal action against local officials, state officials, anybody who sort of gets in the way of their deportation efforts. Judge Dugan has a federal court appearance on May 15th. Her team says that she plans to defend herself vigorously, Peter, and she looks forward to being exonerated. Peter, Laura?
The latest confrontation between the courts and the executive branch. Aaron Gilchrist, thank you.
Hey, thank you. You know what? I mean, there's nothing she can defend. There's nothing she can defend. You can sit up there and claim morality all you want to. But again, it's like, I'm sorry, your moral compass is leaning towards an illegal who violently assaulted 2 people. An illegal gang member who violently assaulted 2 people, who had a deportation order, was deported, and came back. And your defense against trying to protect him is what? What? Well, Trump's not following the law. You're not following the law. Your job as a judge is to protect society, not the criminals. How stupid are you? You have no defense. And these federal judges that are sitting up here doing all of these blocking orders and whatnot, the Supreme Court needs to step in. The Supreme Court needs to step in and be like, hey, look, y'all can't do that. You're not in charge of the government. If you have a problem with what he's doing, you run it through us. You don't just make a decision and then delay it till it gets to us. We're not doing that anymore. We got to stop that. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Now they're talking about disbarring Letitia James from practicing law, which is good. I mean, it's a wait and see game. It's a wait and see game. It's a wait and see game. We just have to wait and see what happens. But this will happen today. Move on to the next video. Because I think Trump is getting tired of this. Yeah, come on.
In just the last hour, we have learned President Donald Trump signed an executive order that could have big implications right here in Colorado.
Fox 31's.
All right, so You say the Democrats are pro-crime, so it benefits them in their agenda. Right, but here's the thing with this. Tom Holman, he might speak, because I haven't watched the press conference. You know, I come to y'all with all of this fresh. Tom Holman was saying that the Democrats' plan apparently is to have all of these illegals come in so that way they can redistrict places, so therefore they have more seats in the House. So therefore, when they have more seats in the House and the Senate, as far as in Congress, therefore they can completely have control and not be able to, and the Republicans won't be able to do anything, thus quote unquote stealing of rigging elections. Because you had a judge come out a couple days ago trying to block Trump's order that you have to be a U.S. citizen in order to vote. And it's like, what? Are you nuts? But you have to understand, you have to look at Trump's plan and how it worked out. Because again, you never should have tried to shoot. You shouldn't have, when you take a shot at the king, you don't miss. And the way that he's destroying them is beautiful. You can see how it's working out. Number one, you get rid of the illegals because you're trying to use them as a voting block. They're not your new labor force or anything like that. You're trying to use them as a voting block to also disrupt and destroy the country. But you're trying to mainly use them as a voting block, a new voting block. So he's getting rid of them. Number two, he's stripping them of all of their slush money, all of their slush funds. That's what Doge is doing. I mean, it needed to be done because the Democrats were bankrupting this country. So you needed to get rid of all of that. So Doge has cut off all of their money, all of their NGOs and whatnot. That's what Thanos said to Thor when he missed too. Yeah. So he's cutting off all of their money, all of their slush fund money. USAID is under investigation, as are any type of politician, mainly Democrats, who have taken money from them. They're all under investigation for fraud. That includes Ratchet Crockett, most especially. They're all under investigation. This is what this whole Elon and Doge situation is about. So now that you're taking away their voting block, you've taken away their money to where they can't defend themselves. All right. Now you've got them acting way out of pocket, protecting gang members who are labeled as terrorists. So now am I jumping, or is it just my computer? If I'm jumping, press one on the computer on chat. I'm sorry. So now you're starting to arrest these Democrats for breaking the law. For breaking the law. Once you start doing the audits on the states, that's when you can really start nailing them to where they're trying to say, oh, it's political. It's political. It's like, but we have the smoking gun, just like with Letitia James. Smoking gun. This is your signature. Did you not do this? Yes, you did. Smoking gun. Just like these two judges. Smoking gun. Smoking gun. Trust me, he knew exactly what he was doing. Say Doge is the infinity gauntlet and Elon snapped his fingers. Yeah, I mean, good thing he wasn't, was it Ebony Maw? Who's the blue guy that Star-Lord and them beat with the dance off, man, dance off. Luckily, Elon's not that guy. Yeah, the one with the hammer. Yeah, but now he's taking them down. He is taking them down. And the American public, as much as the Democrats want to pretend, especially MSNBC and CNN, as much as they like to pretend that the American public is on their side, it's like, no, you're talking into an echo chamber. You guys literally have to bust, as far as AOC and Bernie, they have to bust people into their rallies. From state to state to state. It's pretty much the same people. Like, you have no real support. These protests, there's nobody young under the age of 30 at these protests. Protests Normally, that changed everything. Oh, also what he's doing with doing away with all of that DEI garbage, that anti-American garbage that's being taught in these schools. All of that is now illegal. If you want to teach it, you don't get federal funding. These colleges that don't get federal funding will go belly up. You don't have a football program? Oh, well. You know how many people are not sending their children to Harvard and to, what's the other one? What's the other one that had the terrorist on there? Columbia? They're not sending their kids there. Do understand, it's not liberal people, say just old millennials at those protests. Yeah, because they're getting paid to be there. But understand, it is Republican people, conservative people mainly, who send their kids to these schools, and all of a sudden they come back home and they're Haley Smith. You know, like what is that? Not Family Guy, the other one, American Dad. I send my daughter Haley off to college, and she comes back and she's this pot-smoking hippie, you know, that's dating this married a loser. Yeah, like no. They're not sending these kids to these schools anymore. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. These schools are about to lose out, especially with what happened with the student loans now. People are saying, well, Trump is going to lose the election because of student loans. Like, no, he's not. No, it's not. He's not even going to be up for re-election. This is his last year. Like his last presidency. What are you talking about? But you know, do keep in mind though, you know, this is the most educated that Sonny Holston was talking about. You the most educated, but you want the government to pay for your debt. Get the hell out of here, Joe. Damn. I'm taking the sound of music on a chalkboard and a totem bag. I'm taking that as a 4-year major at $100,000. Hell out of here. Yeah, but Trump is taking them down. He's taking them down. Watch. You're going to see a lot more arrests. That's why I say this summer is going to be a hot summer for Democrats. A lot of them are going to be in cuffs. Let's go. See what he did.
Political reporter Gabrielle Franklin joining us now to explain why the spotlight from the administration is back on Denver. Gabrielle.
Yeah, ahead of his first 100 days in office, President Donald Trump is making it clear that he wants to crack down on crime and illegal immigration, potentially looking to target places like the Mile High City.
Later this afternoon, President Trump will sign an executive order on law and order and another executive order on sanctuary cities.
One of the two executive orders the president is set to sign today places a spotlight on so-called sanctuary cities.
The second EO is centered around protecting American communities from criminal aliens, and it will direct the Attorney General and Secretary of Homeland Security to publish a list of state and local jurisdictions that obstruct the enforcement of federal immigration laws.
I spend most of the day running the cities, so I don't stop to track news that much during the day, but I heard nothing about it. Our team has heard nothing about it.
The White House announced the news at a press briefing Monday morning. Not long after that, we caught up with Denver Mayor Mike Johnston, who has testified on Capitol Hill on so-called sanctuary city policy.
This is the one where I can't think of her name, but that gorgeous Hispanic chick from Florida, she put this chick, Brandon Johnson, and this guy, she recommended them for criminal prosecution for what they're doing in their cities. Criminal prosecution. And this woman right here, it looks like she's going to be under investigation for taking money from China. You know, the same thing that Shang Tao, who was the former mayor of Oakland, she took money from a Chinese business owner, like the trash people. Yeah, they came and, you know, kicked in her door at 6 a.m. and arrested her. This woman is under the same type of investigation, so she might be getting arrested before the end of May. All right, she might be getting arrested before the end of May. We'll see. I haven't heard any word on Brandon Johnson or this mayor of Denver. Of course, as you know, your boy Adams, he's getting the pass because he's snitching. He's bending over for Tom Holman. But these three, they're in trouble, especially her. But let's go.
But the city has never formally taken on the title of a sanctuary city. He said the city has received no notice about the order and maintains the city is not doing anything illegal.
We see no reason for there to be funds that would be cut,
You're
for there to
harboring
be
terrorists,
lawsuits against us, for there to be changes to programming. So we're very clear, very confident what we're doing. And by the way, there is no crisis facing the city right now. As folks know, we've closed every migrant shelter in the city. We don't have folks in encampments on the streets. They are on the job, working, paying for themselves. And so
why does that sound like a big lie?
To other top priorities the city's facing.
Though that list of cities and jurisdictions hasn't been made public yet, Border Czar Tom Holman says places on the list could find themselves in legal trouble.
Sanctuary cities can be sued on this administration for flouting immigration law. I mean, the law is clear, and they're violating it, and this administration will take action.
Yeah, and just last week, a federal judge ruled that denying federal dollars to so-called sanctuary jurisdictions is unconstitutional. As for Mayor Johnston, he says that he will be watching to see what list the federal government comes up with. Of course, we will be watching as well, but for now, we're live in Denver.
Actually, it's not unconstitutional. It's not unconstitutional. In fact, hold on, let's see here. Hold on, I'm sorry. Before we get to the main event, this is what happened in Colorado. Yesterday.
More than 100 migrants during a raid on an underground nightclub in Colorado.
Doug Lazader is joining us from Washington with all the details. Good morning, Doug.
Carly and Todd, good morning. This was a dramatic raid over the weekend. More than 100 people detained from this underground nightclub in Colorado Springs, including alleged illegal immigrants and U.S. service members. This is how it all played out.
This is the DEA. All occupants of the structure, exit the structure with your hands up.
Scary like rats. Scary like rats. Where you going? Where you going, rats? Where you going, rats?
You see all the people streaming out of the club there. It's a big operation. It included some 300 law enforcement officers from at least 10 federal agencies. In addition to the illegal immigrants, the DEA says more than a dozen active duty U.S. service members were also detained. Some of them were said to be working security. The agency also says the club has been linked to gang members from Tren de Aragua and MS-13. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi posted this on X. This morning, the DEA apprehended over 100 illegal aliens at an underground nightclub frequented by Tren de Aragua and MS-13 terrorists. Cocaine, meth, and pink cocaine seized. 2 people were also arrested on existing warrants. As we approach his 100 days in office, President Trump's directive to make America safe again is achieving results. And
so, quick question. For those of you who are military members, would you throw away your military career, your pension, all of that stuff? Because you do know you're going to jail. Especially how you're pretty much harboring terrorists. You're fraternizing with terrorists. That's the way they look at it. This administration, that's how they're going to look at it. Would you throw away all of that? Your freedom, your career, everything? Because you want to get high and, sleep with some illegal prostitutes and get your drink on? Is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? You have to ask yourself that. Anyway, let's get on to the press conference.
Good to see you bright and early on this Monday morning. As you know, this week marks the first 100 days of the Trump presidency. And President Trump's first 100 days have undoubtedly been the most monumental and historic of any administration
that's pretty
in
stupid,
American history.
Carlton.
President Trump has already delivered on hundreds of promises he made to the American people, and we will continue to talk about all of them throughout this week. Tomorrow, I will host a press briefing at this same time, bright and early again, to highlight the Trump administration's economic accomplishments with our Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. And tomorrow night, President Trump will travel to Michigan to discuss all that he has achieved on behalf of the American people. On Wednesday, the president will host an open press cabinet meeting where each cabinet member will discuss their success thus far and their plans for the future. Today, we kick off 100-day week with a focus on the president's historic effort to secure our southern border. Later this afternoon, President Trump will sign an executive order on law and order and another executive order on sanctuary cities. The first EO will strengthen and unleash America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens. The second EO is centered around protecting American communities from criminal aliens, and it will direct the Attorney General and Secretary of Homeland Security to publish a list of state and local jurisdictions that obstruct the enforcement of federal immigration laws. After these are signed, the president will have signed more than 140 executive orders already, rapidly approaching the total number signed by the Biden administration over the course of 4 years in office. Speaking of Joe Biden, it was his awful open border policies that recklessly allowed more than 10 million illegal aliens to invade the United States over the past 4 years. Innocent Americans like Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungray, Rachel Morin, and so many others were viciously murdered at the hands of these illegal aliens as a result of Biden's dereliction of duty. That's why one of President Trump's central campaign promises was to secure the border and end this invasion. In just under 100 days, 99 now to be exact, the president has overwhelmingly delivered on that promise. America's borders are now secure because of President Trump. He has restored the rule of law, enforced our immigration laws, and defended America's sovereignty. The president immediately declared a national emergency on the southern border, deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion, and ended reckless catch and release policies. The results have been nothing short of extraordinary. Between President Trump's inauguration and April 1 of this month, only 9 illegal aliens were released into the United States, a staggering 99.99% decrease from the more than 184,000 illegal aliens who were released into the country under Biden during the same period last year. The number of unaccompanied illegal alien children arriving at the border has also hit a record low. Total attempted illegal crossings at the southwest border hit a record low in February, only to fall to another new record low again last month in March. Just listen to these incredible numbers. In March 2024, under Joe Biden, Border Patrol encountered approximately 140,000 illegal aliens at the southwest border. 1 year later, in March 2025, under President Trump, Border Patrol encountered just over 7,000 illegal aliens at the southwest border. That's another 95% decrease from the prior year. First piece of legislation President Trump signed into law was the Laken Riley Act, which requires illegal aliens arrested or charged with theft or violence to be detained. President Trump also reestablished the successful Remain in Mexico policy from his first term to ensure that aliens who arrive at our southern border and claim asylum are returned to Mexico to await their hearings instead of being allowed into our country while they wait. The president has also restarted construction of his signature advanced border wall. More than 85 miles of new border barrier are already in various stages of construction and planning. And Border Patrol, in collaboration with the Department of Defense and the great state of Texas, have deployed 75 additional miles of temporary barriers across the southern border. The Trump administration, as you know, has also ended the disastrous CBP-1 app, which Joe Biden exploited to facilitate the migration of nearly 1 million illegal aliens into the country. The Department of Homeland Security has relaunched this as the CBP Home app to provide illegal aliens in the U.S. a straightforward way to declare their intent to voluntarily depart. For years, Joe Biden's weakness in open border policies allowed vicious cartels to functionally control, through a campaign of terror, rape, and brutal force, nearly all illegal traffic across the southern border. President Trump has put a stop to this in record time. He designated these heinous cartels as foreign terrorist organizations and invoked the Alien Enemies Act to immediately apprehend, detain, and remove these massive threats who have flooded our country with deadly drugs, violent criminals, and vicious gangs. The Trump administration is working 24/7 to successfully arrest and deport these illegal criminals and foreign terrorists from our communities. We are in the beginning stages of carrying out the largest deportation campaign in American history. Over this past weekend, it was announced that through Operation Tidal Wave, a joint effort between ICE Miami and Florida law enforcement agencies, nearly 800 illegal aliens were arrested during the first 4 days alone. Among those arrested were a Colombian murderer, alleged MS-13 and 18th Street gang members, and a Russian with a red notice for manslaughter. And on the other side of the country, in the early Sunday morning hours, DOJ and DHS together launched a joint raid of an illegal alien underground nightclub used by Tren de Aragua in Colorado Springs, Colorado. DHS took more than 100 illegal aliens into custody, and many drugs and weapons were also seized. Operation Tidal Wave is a preview of what is to come around this country. Large-scale operations that employ our state and local enforcement partners to get criminal illegal aliens off our streets. As always, President Trump and our entire administration are grateful for the courageous law enforcement officers who are putting their lives on the line every single day to protect their fellow Americans and to keep our country safe. After 4 years of being vilified and hamstrung by the Biden administration, heroic ICE and CBP officers finally have a president who has their backs and is allowing them to do the jobs they signed up to do. There's no person who can attest to that more than our incredible border czar here at the White House, Tom Holman, who has dedicated his professional career to protecting our country and enforcing the law. I will let Tom deliver some short remarks, and then we'll open it up for questions today. Thanks for being here, Tom.
Thank you. Just a few things. Look, I started in Border Patrol in 1984. I've been at this for over 40 years. I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. Every president ever worked for took border security seriously, because you can't have national security if you don't have strong border security. We got to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where's coming in, why it's coming in, right? Even President Obama and President Clinton took some steps to secure the border because they understood national security was important. Joe Biden was the first president in the history of this nation who came in office and unsecured the border on purpose. That's just a fact. We handed the Biden administration, after President Trump's first administration, we handed the Biden administration the most secure border in my lifetime, and he unsecured it on purpose. Now, President Trump and this administration here, the success is unprecedented. We beat Trump's first administration on border success. Border numbers are historic low. Today, as I'm standing here, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation. And the numbers prove it. President Trump's policies are saving lives every day. There's been studies done that says 31% of women that make that journey through use of cartels get sexually assaulted. When President Trump has illegal immigration down 96%, when 96% less people are coming, how many women aren't being sexually assaulted by the cartels? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked into this nation? How many known suspected terrorists aren't making it into this country? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't getting into this country to kill young Americans? How many women and children aren't sex trafficked? Under Joe Biden, sex trafficking is up 600%. We had 4,000 aliens dying making that journey. We had 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl that came across the open border. President Trump's policy saves lives every day. Even the border wall saves lives. If people want to hate on the border wall, every place a border barrier has been built, illegal migration's declined, illegal drug flows decline. But you know what no one talks about? The border wall saves lives. Because the most vulnerable, the women and children, can't get over that wall, which means they're going to a place where there's not a wall. And what's waiting on them? The men and women of the United States Border Patrol who will take care of those humanitarian needs, the health needs right off the bat. We just went over the numbers. Now, let me talk about a few numbers that are important to me. Under the Biden administration, we averaged over 11,000 many days, over 12,000, even some days 15,000 illegal entrants in the United States. 15,000. You know what the number was last 24 hours? 178. 15,000 to 178. Unprecedented success. On an average day in the Biden administration, known gotaways. People we knew crossed the border because they're on video, drone traffic, or sensor traffic. Crossed the border, weren't apprehended, weren't fingerprinted, weren't vetted. Average day under Joe Biden, more than 1,800 gotaways. Yesterday, 38. 38 too many? We'll get that to 0. But we went from 1,800 to 38. And finally, that was said earlier, under the first 100 days, or it was actually January 20th to April 1st, last year, 184,000 illegal aliens were released into the United States. Under this administration, 9. 4 of them were material witnesses in a criminal investigation. We need them here to testify in a serious criminal trial. 4 was extreme medical condition. We couldn't return them because they were in such bad shape. And 1 was a humanitarian issue. This is unprecedented success. The border secure. President Trump saving lives. President Trump has proven no one does it better than President Trump. There is no equal, it's not even close. So God bless the men and women of the Border Patrol. God bless the men and women of ICE who strap a gun to the hip every day, put on a Kevlar vest to not only secure our border and protect our national security, but the ICE agents in the interior, they're removing public safety threats and national security threats every day. While you're all sleeping at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, there are men and women out there enforcing the law, making this country safe again. And we're going to keep doing it. It's full speed ahead. So I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. And thanks for all your great efforts. We do want to open it up to questions.
So I have a question. What's racist about border security? Not just the South American border, but also the Northern American border. What's racist about it? For those of you on the replay, if you can figure out what's racist about it, comment below. But let's get to the questions. My favorite part. I love this part. The question part. I hope CNN and the AP are there. What's her name? Caitlin Collins. I hope her stupid self is there. Let's see. Let's go.
Questions. If you have border-related questions for Mr. Holman, and I'm also happy to take any non-border related questions. I'm happy to take border questions too, but Tom is here offering his time, so we encourage you to ask him questions. We'll start with our new media seat today. As always, Rogan O'Hanley, former Hollywood entertainment lawyer, I didn't know that, Rogan, who got fed up with the far left ideologies of California and now posts conservative political commentary online for his more than 7 million followers across all major platforms. He joins us today from the great state of Florida. Why don't you kick us off today, Rogan?
Thank you, Caroline. In Trump's first 99 days, we've seen a coordinated assault on the rule of law by radical judges. We're thwarting his agenda with an unprecedented number of national injunctions. These judges are providing more due process to violent MS-13 and Tren de Aragua illegal aliens than they did for American citizens who peacefully protested on January 6th. As Stephen Miller has highlighted, it would be utterly ridiculous to have full trials and appeals for the more than 15 million illegal aliens that came across our border under Joe Biden. Many are now calling for Trump to circumvent these radical judges and consider suspending the writ of habeas corpus solely for these illegal aliens in accordance with the terms of Article 1, Section 9 of the United States Constitution, which explicitly allows for such a measure when there is a rebellion or invasion. There's strong precedent for this action, being that it was exercised by 3 of our greatest presidents, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, and Democrats' favorite president of all time, FDR. All 3 of which are not only celebrated by historians, but are immortalized on our national currency with their faces on there. Furthermore, all 3 used it against American citizens, where in this instance, we would only be using it against illegal aliens. I think almost every reasonable American would agree that 15 million illegal aliens coming across our border under Joe Biden counts as an invasion, especially since many, as you highlighted, are now robbing, assaulting, raping, and killing American citizens. Historic assaults on our republic require reciprocal action from our government. Can you please let us know if and when the Trump administration is planning to suspend the writ of habeas corpus to circumvent these radical judges who are infringing on his Article 2 powers and to start shipping out illegals en masse?
Great
I
question.
have not heard such discussions take place, but I can assure you that the president and the entire administration are certainly open to all legal and constitutional remedies to ensure we can continue with the promise of deporting illegal criminals from our nation's borders. And I also agree with the premise of your question, which doesn't happen in this room often, but I do agree with yours. It is absurd that the previous administration was allowed to allow 15 million that we know about illegal aliens into this country with very little pushback from our judicial branch. But this president is trying to simply enforce our nation's immigration laws and is facing roadblock after roadblock. So we're complying with court orders, but as Tom Holman has said every day, we're going to continue to forge ahead with this mass deportation campaign, and the president is open to all remedies to do that. Thanks for being here today, Rogan.
If I can also answer your question, as far as the judges.
Let's just be honest. The judges are speed bumps, but but let's see what he got to say. I'm sorry, I had to say that. The judges are speed bumps. I mean, it's just been 100 days. Okay, that's three months and a week, or 3 months and almost 2 weeks. The judges are speed bumps, which will be cleared out, but I'll let them answer. Hello. My bad. I'm trying to download.
Just arrested the judge, Pam Bondi, for.
If
I can also answer your question, as far as the judges, look, we just arrested the judge, Pam Bondi, for impeding ICE enforcement removals. I said from day one, you don't have to support ICE's operations. You can support sanctuary cities if that's what you desire to do. Sanctuary cities can stand aside and watch ICE keep their community safe, because any public official, whether you're mayor, city councilman, or governor, their number one responsibility is protection of communities. And ICE has been clear, we're targeting public safety threats and national security threats. I can't believe there's any elected official, and especially a judge, that doesn't believe we should be doing that, and they should be helping us. But I said from day one, you can sit aside and watch, you can argue against us all you want and protest all you want, but when you cross that line, I've said this 1,000 times, when you cross that line to impediment or knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien from ICE, you will be prosecuted. Judge or not.
Not kidding.
And as far as releasing so many people, you know why the Biden administration released millions of people in the United States? No one ever talks about it. I'll talk about it. Why did they release people into the interior of the United States and put them, rather than put them into an ice bed? Why not put them in an empty ice bed at $127 a night rather than in a hotel room at $500 a night? They did it on purpose, because when you put them in an ice detention bed, they get a hearing in 35 days. Court records show 9 out of 10 people claim asylum, get order removal, they're gone. But if you release them and put them in a hotel room at $500 a night, their hearings can be 5, 7, 9 years if you pull out all appeals. And what are they hoping for then? That another Democrat administration is in power. They can award an amnesty to millions. This is about selling this country off for future political power. That's what it was. The law clearly says if you arrive at our border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, shall. And that's what President Trump's doing. Catch and release is over. That's what the law says, and that's what we've done.
Harry.
A question on Abrego Garcia, if I can. The president said when it comes to facilitating his release, he's leaving that up to his lawyer. So just to be clear, have there been any negotiations between the U.S. and El Salvador over his release or facilitating his release?
I will tell you what the president of El Salvador told all of you in the Oval Office. El Salvador does not intend to smuggle a designated foreign terrorist back into the United States. He is an El Salvadorian national. That is his home country. That is where he belongs. And the administration intends to comply with what President Bukele said of El Salvador. He does not intend to send that individual back.
So that's a no. There's been no talks.
What I have told you is that the president of El Salvador has made this quite clear. Kate.
Karoline, can you tell us more about the meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky over the weekend? Did that meeting change anything? Did Trump leave that meeting thinking any differently about negotiations and next steps on this?
Look, the president talked about this after the meeting himself yesterday when he took questions from reporters on Air Force One. He thinks that he is increasingly frustrated with leaders of both countries. He wants to see a permanent ceasefire. I understand Vladimir Putin this morning offered a temporary ceasefire. The president has made it clear he wants to see a permanent ceasefire first to stop the killing, stop the bloodshed. And while he remains optimistic he can strike a deal, he's also being realistic as well. And both leaders need to come to the table to negotiate their way out of this. And I do think that the president meeting with President Zelensky shows that he is exuding a lot of effort and time into this because he wants to be a peacemaker president, which he was in his first term. He intends to do that again. And this is an incredibly difficult situation and conflict that President Trump inherited from President Biden, who allowed this war to start in the first place, but he's focused on solving this problem. Does anyone have border questions? Sure. Okay.
Thank you, Caroline. If border crossings are at a record low, why should it still be considered an emergency?
It's because of what has happened in the last administration. We got to ensure that not 1 ounce of fentanyl comes across the border to kill Americans. The president has declared the cartels mixed with terrorist organizations, along with MS-13 TDA. They killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. It's an emergency till we shut it down. It's an emergency till the cartels are wiped off the face of this earth. President Trump's committed to saving every life. Now, I just mentioned gotaways 38 yesterday. Who are the gotaways? Where do they come from? We had over 2 million gotaways under Joe Biden's administration. Why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Under the Biden administration, you pay a cartel this amount of money to cross the border. Cartel's job ends at the border. Just turn yourself in a green uniform. Get released in 24 hours. Get a free airline ticket to the city of your choice. Get a free hotel room. Get 3 meals a day. Get free medical care. Get work authorization in 90 to 120 days, which is the real reason they came here. Why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Because they didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. We've arrested over 400 people on the terrorist watch list coming across the southern border in 4 years. How many of the 2 million came from countries sponsoring terror? Do you think is zero? Then you're ignorant.
Yeah, y'all remember that video I played where the guy, some goofy black guy, was with some white folks? You know, you always got to have one of them. He was recording, and the guy came across the fence, and the guy, they had an exchange, and the guy was like, "Oh, the entitlement," and the guy was like, "You don't know who I am. Like, pretty soon you will know who I am." And people were like, "Well, who is this guy?" And then come to find out, this dude was a freaking terrorist that these morons just let into the country because, the poor migrants.
This is the biggest national security failure this country's ever seen. This is a border emergency until we end it, end all of it. We're making good strides. Right now, it's still an emergency until we shut it down.
Go ahead. This is a question for Mr. Holman. Late last week, there were 3 U.S. citizen children who were removed with their mothers who were in the United States illegally. There have been a federal judge in Louisiana who was appointed by President Trump said that he was concerned that there was, quote, no meaningful process. Are you concerned that due process, at least for the U.S. citizen children, is being flouted and that the speed at which the enforcement is being done could lead to errors, as was the case in the Abrego Garcia case? And then also, if you could give an update on the deportation numbers under this administration and whether you're pleased with them.
Yeah, because, the Democrats are now trying to say, look, we told you he was going to start deporting American citizens. I'll let Tom Holman answer that.
First of all, I don't accept the term error in Abrego Garcia. There was an oversight. There's a withholding order. But things have changed. The facts around the withholding order has changed. He is now a terrorist, which is withholding order set aside. And the gang he was fearing from being removed out of El Salvador no longer exists. So the facts around that case are totally different. I'll let the lawyers litigate that. But as far as the 3 USC kids, I'd said from day one that if you enter this country legally, it's a crime. If you remain in this country legally and you ignore a judge's order about deporting, if you choose to have a U.S. citizen child, knowing you're in this country legally, you put yourself in that position. You put your family in that position. What we did is remove children with their mothers who requested the children depart with them. This was a parental decision, parenting 101. The mothers made that choice. And I tell you what, if we didn't do it, the story today would be Trump administration separating families again. No, we're keeping families together. So when a parent says, I want my 2-year-old baby to go with me, we made that happen. They weren't deported. We don't deport U.S. citizens. The parents made that decision, not the United States government. But I don't hear any questions about Lakin Riley had a mother. She's never going to see her child again. Rachel Morin, she had 5 children. Those children are never going to see their mom again. This administration is doing the right thing. Every public safety threat we arrest from this country and remove them, this country is much safer. So parents will make a decision what happens to their child. Having a U.S. citizen child does not make you immune from our laws. If that's the message we send the entire world, enter the country legally. It's a crime. Don't worry about it. Get order removed by an immigration judge. Don't worry about it. No one's looking for you. And have a U.S. citizen child and you're immune from our laws, you're never going to fix the border. People will keep putting themselves in harm's way. More women would die. More children would die crossing this border. We got a secure border by enforcing our laws. We're not making this up. We're enforcing laws under statute enacted by Congress, and it's the right thing to do.
Can you give an update on the deportation numbers under this administration?
Mr. Holman. What are you asking for? We just provided the numbers.
The number of deportations that have occurred under this administration, whether you're pleased with
Jake,
that.
were you not listening? Tell her, Tom.
Last number I got was 139,000 deportations. Am I happy with the number? Numbers are good. Especially if you look at the ICE numbers. The ICE arrest removals are far beyond Biden. But I read the media. Oh, ICE, the deportations are behind Biden administration. Well, why? Because they counted border removals. We don't have 10.5 million people crossing the border. We don't have border removals. So Joe Biden could have deported 5% of his encounters, and numbers will still be higher than us on the border removals because we have a secure border, the most secure border in the history of this nation. Compare apples to apples, ICE arrests and deportations are far more than Joe Biden.
That's great.
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Holman.
So before they answer that, I remember him. Yeah, dude was dangerous, right? So look, peep this. This was another thing that Trump did to destroy the Democratic voting bloc and to also get rid of the illegals. When Doge went through the Social Security Department and they found all those Social Security numbers of people over the age of really 100. Millions of people over the age of 100. He cut them off. He killed those numbers. And now they're starting to go through down low proof of life. Proof of life for people who are collecting Social Security benefits. They're looking for proof of life or people who have been listed as dead. They're cutting those. If you don't provide proof of life, they're cutting the numbers off. They're killing the Social Security numbers because they're being used by illegals. If the Social Security number that you paid for from the coyote, from the smugglers, is now suddenly deactivated, how are you going? You can't cash a check. Your bank account becomes null and void. You know what I'm saying? You can't even use Cash App. You can't do any of that because the Social Security number is null and void. You have to get a new one. A lot of people are self-deporting. They were talking about that in New York last month. A lot of people were self-deporting. You still have a lot of people self-deporting. Now when I order DoorDash, I don't have Jose and Enrique and Maria delivering food. I don't see the Hispanics working at these jobs anymore. They're being deported. They're self-deporting. They're self-deporting. It's an ingenious move. The Democrats will never tell you the truth, but the Republicans will. At least this administration, this version of them, they will tell you the truth. They'll be honest with you. But they racist. Whatever. I know, I was running CapCut. Yeah. Live show. Yeah, I'm done. I closed CapCut out. But this should be... Come on, what are you doing?
Than Joe Biden.
There we go.
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Holman, talking about the border wall, can you give us an update as far as how many miles are being built today? And is Mexico paying for it, as the president said they were going to?
Oh, here he is.
Well, first of all, I'll answer that question because I already answered it in my opening remarks. To date, since January 1st, there's been more than 85 miles of new border wall construction in various stages of that construction and planning. The president has made it clear to Congress that we want to see more funding for not just border wall construction, but also to support our ICE agents and our Border Patrol agents who are on the ground facilitating with this mass deportation effort.
So he's clear that Mexico is not going to pay for it? Is that what you're saying?
Let's address that. Trump said Mexico will pay for the wall. They have in a roundabout way, have they not? Putting 10,000 military on the northern and southern border, taking the action they did, remain in Mexico. They didn't have to do that. They're doing it. Putting military on the southern border. Have moved illegal immigration to a record low. We're saving millions of dollars every day on detention, transportation, removal proceedings. We've more than made up for the cost of that wall because of the actions of Mexico. So is Mexico helping build that wall? Yeah, because we're saving so much money, millions of dollars a day, that we can afford to build.
Getting them indirectly.
Yes, they're helping to build the wall.
Thanks a lot.
Shut him up.
Mr. Holman, a question for you. You're the border czar. Can you give an estimate as to how many individuals are in the United States illegally? That's number one. I'm sure you're very familiar with that number and estimate. And the second question is, I have a list that the White House put out of individuals, 100 ICE arrests since the beginning of the president's term, and the people are arrested for various very serious crimes: first-degree murder, convicted of rape, convicted of murder and aggravated burglary, sexual assault of a child. How many of the individuals that are in the United States illegally are people like this, really bad people?
Well, first of all, how many illegal aliens I think in the United States? At least 20 million. So where'd you count that number? We've been speaking about 12 million for 20 years. We know we got 10.5 that we know of came to the border. How many don't we know? I talked about known gotaways at 2 million. How many unknown gotaways we have? Like between the Big Bend sector in Texas, where there's no technology, how many 1,000 people did across through there? We wouldn't know. We would know now. But, so I would venture over 20 million. But your question is, last count, last I looked, there was about 700,000 illegal aliens with criminal charges walking the streets of this country. 700,000. And that's what we're looking for now. That's what we're prioritizing. Them and national security threats.
We'll go to the back row.
Thanks, Caroline.
Yes.
For Mr. Holman, I'm Taylor with Spectrum News. We have a station up in Rochester, New York. It was reported you're visiting there tomorrow. Can you talk a bit about the purpose of your trip? I know the Trump administration is suing the city over sanctuary city policies, how the executive order Caroline alluded to ties into it, and what your message is for communities and community leaders who say, we're able to establish our own rules here. We're worried about this input from the federal level. Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, same thing I talked about earlier. I don't think any elected mayor, any elected governor should want public safety threats, those illegally in the United States, public safety threats walking through the community. And what happened in Rochester, HSI agent called for emergency assistance. Officers of Rochester PD responded to a call from emergency assistance from a federal law enforcement officer. They responded, then they got disciplined. I don't think anybody can come up with one instance where an ICE agent, a Border Patrol agent didn't respond to an emergency call from assistance from any law enforcement agency. Cops need to help cops, especially in an emergency situation, but they got disciplined. And I met those officers down in Nashville soon after that. I think it was a couple of days after it. And I told them I stand with them. They did the right thing. Law enforcement responding to emergency assistance from law enforcement. So I'm
whoever disciplined them need to be
the men and women who carry that.
They need to be removed from office.
They're working the streets. At
That's
2 a.m.
crazy.
While we're all sleeping. I'm going to give my support, and they just announced a lawsuit, and that's one of many. Sanctuary cities can be sued on this administration for flouting immigration law. I mean, the law is clear, and they're violating it, and this administration is going to take actions. I'm going up to show my support of men and women law enforcement. I started as a cop, and the community. I'm showing support for them because the community wants their police officers to be officers too. The communities don't want public safety threats walking around their communities either, and that's what it's all
Unless
about.
Unless
you black. Mr. Holman, how close are you to housing migrants at U.S. DoD facilities like Fort Bliss in Texas?
Well, we're already housing at Guantanamo. Fort Bliss is being ramped up, so in the very near future. I don't have a timetable because things need to be done, construction needs to be done. We're making sure the facilities are ready to accept. We're making sure the facilities are able to care for the people. They're going to be detained, so I don't know the timeline right now. It changes every day because of various issues, but we're working on it.
Are you intending to hold families there, including families with American citizen children?
Family residential centers are for families. They're not jails, they're open-air campers built for families, which means they have child psychologists, they have pediatricians. And why family residential centers? Because we want to make sure that child is with a parent. Unlike the last administration who stopped DNA testing, who many investigations of children being smuggled in the country with some that wasn't related to them claiming to be a parent. So we're going to make sure children are with parents. We're going to make sure that's actually a family and that child ain't being trafficked. That's the main reason.
Regarding the executive order on sanctuary cities, is the administration planning to pursue any more investigations or prosecutions like was done against the judge in Wisconsin, against local officials?
Well, we
Good
have
question.
to defer you to the Department of Justice, obviously, for specific prosecutions or cases against individuals. But as I said in my remarks, the executive order the president will sign later this afternoon does direct the Attorney General and also Kristi Noem, our great Secretary of Homeland Security, to provide a list of sanctuary cities in which local officials are not complying with this federal order and are not complying with federal immigration laws. It's quite simple. Obey the law, respect the law, and don't obstruct federal immigration officials and law enforcement officials when they are simply trying to remove public safety threats from our nation's communities. The American public don't want illegal alien criminals in their communities. They made that quite clear on November 5th. And this administration is determined to enforce our nation's immigration laws. And we're happy to provide the text of that executive order. And as I said, the president will be signing it later this afternoon. Sure.
Excuse me. I want to talk about farm workers. The president said earlier this month that there could be leniency for some undocumented farm workers. I'm wondering, where do things stand with that? And I'm also wondering, does that at all undermine his message on immigration, that it's okay for some undocumented people to be in the U.S., but maybe not others?
So the president was referring to our H-1B and H-1A visa programs, and there have been no final decisions on that at all. But the president, I think, what he was intended to speak about, what he was speaking about, is ensuring that we have a clean, legal immigration system that is being respected and obeyed. And the mass amount of illegal immigration that we've seen over the past 4 years in our country completely undermines our legal immigration system, those seeking citizenship, but also those coming here on a visa to legally and lawfully work. And the president wants to make sure that those programs are respected. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. My question is for Tom. Tom Reagan-Reese with the Daily Caller. Over the weekend, ICE arrested 2 illegal immigrants for allegedly stealing Secretary Noem's purse over the weekend. What can you tell us about these individuals' immigration history as well as their criminal history?
I don't have the criminal history, but I know the one that stole the purse is supposedly in the country legally. But pick the wrong person, steal a purse from. I mean, Secretary Noem's a strong secretary. I know I've been talking about the success of the men and women of the Border Patrol and ICE, but under her strong leadership, she's a game changer. So I'm happy to work with her, despite the media I've read that me and Kristi Noem have differences. Me and Kristi Noem are attached at the hip. There's no daylight between us. We're both going to push the president's agenda. She's a strong secretary, and I'm glad she's in here. And I'm glad, but again, that illegal alien, pick the wrong person, steal a purse from. I'm telling you.
Mary Margaret.
Yeah, he lucky he didn't get
I
shot.
have two questions, one for Mr. Holman, one for you on the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I'd like to start with you, though, Tom Holman. This list has a very high number of sexual assaults on a child. Can you comment on that and why there's so many crimes against children committed by illegals in this country?
Because that's what they do.
I don't know why. It's sick. It's the worst crime in the world when you sexually assault a child. I mean, the most innocent of us all. But that's why I made a statement that one time I was going to go to Boston, bring hell with me, and the media went crazy. At Tom Holman says we're going to Boston, bring hell with us. I was going to bring hell to illegal aliens that rape children. There's not more of a heinous crime, and as you can see, the amount of child rapists we've arrested under this administration that could have been arrested under the Biden administration. They were out there. They had their final orders. They were out there. But they didn't go look for them. They were too busy releasing millions of illegal aliens in this country. And the numbers prove it. The removal numbers of criminals was the lowest. ICE had the lowest number of removals in the history of ICE under Joe. At the same time, you had historic illegal immigration on the border. ICE had the lowest numbers in the history of the agency. That shows the difference between two administrations. We're looking for every one of them. People want to know, okay, when am I going to retire for the third time? I'll retire when every public safety threat, national security threat, child rape is eradicated from this country. That's when I'll rest.
Thank you so much.
You'll never rest.
Alex Thompson said at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I'm going to read his quote, President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of the party, is capable of deception. We, myself included, missed a lot of this story, and some people trust us less because of it. Can you comment on those remarks and whether you agree with that assessment?
I do agree with that assessment from Alex Thompson, who I understand won an award for writing a story months and perhaps years after the American people already knew that story to be true. Millions of Americans watched our mentally incompetent president struggle with his day-to-day duties of this office. We watched our country be ran into the ground as a result, and nobody in the media wanted to write about that, talk about it. There were many reporters, I will say, right-leaning reporters who did talk about that, who didn't get awards, didn't get coverage. In fact, they were lambasted for their coverage. And I remember being on President Trump's campaign, talking about Joe Biden's clear mental incompetence and being accused by people in this room of manufacturing deep fake videos, trying to persuade the public into not believing what they saw with their own eyes for many years. And I think it's about time the legacy media finally admits that was one of the greatest cover-ups and scandals that ever took place in American history. And certainly it did contribute to the decline in the trust that Americans have for the legacy media.
That was another thing Trump did. I forgot. I knew I was missing something. He destroyed their he destroyed their media base. When he first took office and he opened up the media to outside media, those with podcasts and everything. All right, because you saw like Tim Pool. Y'all know who Tim Pool is. If you've never watched the show, you know who he is. The guy with the beanie. He was sitting in that first media chair. I wanted to cover that so bad, but I just wasn't feeling well. But yeah, like right-wing and independent media has the biggest voice right now. MSNBC is looking to be up for sale. CNN, their numbers have dropped dramatically. All right. The View, their numbers have dropped dramatically. They're now sharing the studio with Tamara and Hall. They had to move from the upper Manhattan down to the lower southern part of Manhattan, because they needed to save money. Sponsorship deals are drying up. Disney, that Snow White movie crashed. Disney owns ABC. They own a lot of media apparatuses, especially with the news. They're crashing. People now laugh at their reports. People laugh at CNN and MSNBC. They're so anti-American now, it's ridiculous. We laugh at them. It's bad when you have a news network like CNN where a co-host in Scott Jennings is more talked about, especially in favorable terms, than anybody on that network. Rachel Maddow is now a laughing stock. You understand? She's a laughing stock. A laughing stock. CBS just lost $50 million. They had to fire their CEO or whatever. Their media apparatus is being destroyed. They're surviving right now through advertisements. The majority of TVs that are tuned in to CNN and MSNBC, you can find them at airports, hotels, okay, restaurants, whatever, places that have big screen TVs that always show the news, but usually with it on mute, with the captions going. I mean, their media apparatus is in the toilet. It's in the tank. It's in the tank. Their ratings are in the tank. They're untrustworthy.
Peter, which, by the way, is why we've made many changes to this briefing room in this White House. It's long overdue. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you. A few things. You guys arrested a Milwaukee County circuit judge for allegedly helping illegal immigrants get away. As you guys look at other judges, would you ever arrest somebody higher up on the judicial food chain, like a federal judge or even a Supreme Court justice?
Hell yeah.
That's a hypothetical question. Again, I defer you to the Department of Justice for individuals that they are looking at or individual cases. But let's be clear about what this judge did. She obstructed federal law enforcement who were looking for an illegal alien in her courthouse. She showed that illegal alien the door to evade law enforcement officials. That is a clear-cut case of obstruction. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand that. And so anyone who is breaking the law or obstructing federal law enforcement officials from doing their jobs is putting themselves at risk of being prosecuted. Absolutely.
You guys have at least 18 written trade proposals. We still don't know who they are from or what they contain. Right. What is the holdup with that?
There's no holdup. We're working around the clock. The trade team is working all day. I was on the phone late last night with Secretary Lutnick. I was on the phone this weekend as well with Secretary Bessent. I mean, the entire team is working 24/7 to get these trade deals done. And I think you'll be hearing more about them this week. I don't want to get ahead of the trade team or the president in announcing potential deals, but certainly I can assure the American public that this administration is full speed ahead in cutting good and fair trade deals on behalf of the American worker.
And one more. After the president's Truth Social post, the Browns finally took Shedeur Sanders. Does the president think he deserves credit for Sanders getting picked? And does he think going to the Browns is better than being undrafted?
All I will say is the president put out a statement, and a few rounds later he was drafted. So I think the facts speak for themselves on that one, Peter. We'll go to the back row in the middle, the blonde.
Yes.
That's funny.
Said that Secretary Hegseth will get it together. Does he think that Hegseth doesn't have it together right now?
Look, the president has made his position on Secretary Hegseth quite clear. He absolutely has confidence in the secretary's ability to lead the Pentagon. It's why he nominated him for this position. It's why the Senate voted to confirm him in this position. And look at the success that DOD has had thus far. Their successful operation against the Houthi terrorists in the Middle East. You look at the recruitment and retention levels for all branches of our armed forces are on the incline, which is exactly what this president intended to do. Secretary Hegseth has completely wiped out DEI from the Pentagon as well. And so he's going to remain focused on standing up for our war fighters, on implementing President Trump's peace through strength foreign policy agenda abroad. And the president supports him in his role. Sure.
Many are wondering how these 10 or 20 million people are working. Is there some efforts to clamp down on employment because they're working somewhere to keep staying here?
The number of worksite enforcement actions have tripled this year, and it's going to triple again because in sanctuary jurisdictions especially, if we can't arrest the bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail, they're going to release them into the community. That means we go into the community. If we can't arrest them in the community, we'll arrest them at their work site. We got to do what we got to do to arrest public safety threats. There's no sanctuary for public safety threats in this country. So worksite enforcement is going to increase even more than it already has. And another reason for worksite, the last administration stopped worksites. Where's the number one place we find victims of trafficking, victims of forced labor trafficking and work sites? So not only are we going to enforce law on work sites, we're going to save victims of trafficking. That's another reason we've increased worksite enforcement.
Well, go ahead, Brian. Sure. We'll take one more question.
This is for Mr. Holman. We all walk by these heinous yard signs that are along Pebble Beach. What is some of the feedback that your ICE agents are getting in the field from the community as they remove these individuals from their families, their neighborhood, their schools, or all the places in their community? What's been the reaction that your ICE agents have gotten from the people who live amongst these individuals?
Yeah, because Florida is not playing. Ron DeSantis, in all honesty, understand that, when Trump was going through all of his stuff 2 years ago, before the presidential campaign started picking up steam, I was saying that Ron DeSantis was probably the best pick that the Republicans had. Because understand, Trump was still going to court, facing trials and everything, whatnot, losing cases that, in all honesty, he should have won. So I'm thinking Ron DeSantis was going to be the next president, or at least, their top Republican pick. But I don't know what the hell he was doing. He was just, I don't know. He turned into a flubbering mess. He just lost it. It seems like he lost his nerve. So then he dropped out of the race and, of course, endorsed Trump. But since he dropped out of the race and returned to Florida, Florida has become a great place to live. The only thing they have to do is get the insurance companies back. All right. But what he's done, he's done what DeSantis has done. He's done away with squatting. There is no 3-day wait or you got to wait months. Nope. If you produce a fake lease, they consider that to be a felony theft, simply because of the price of the house. If you can't prove that you legally live there, that's a criminal offense. You produce a fake lease, you're going to jail, like right then and there, but you're getting evicted right then and there. You can't prove that you live there, you're getting out right then and there with the cops standing there. They don't care about your possessions. Get out of the house. Get out of the house. Of course, as you, the owner, you have to show up proving that you own the house. You can't just, hey, yeah, this is my house. Then the police say, well, you got to get out. No, you got to prove you own the house. Or as one sheriff in Florida said, when one person came home and found squatters in a house that he owned, he bust shots at them, chased them off the property. And the sheriff was like, hey, yo, come to the range. We tell people, come to the range. We'd rather you shoot the perpetrator than a bullet accidentally hit somebody else. DeSantis also, what did he do? He got rid of all that trans stuff. He got rid of that out of the school system or whatnot. Also, he's passed a bill to where people don't have to pay land tax anymore. Once you own your house, you no longer have to pay land tax. And he's definitely went after illegals. They cleaned up last week? They rounded up hundreds, I think over almost 1,000 illegals. Kicked them right up out of the country. Out of the state. Ron DeSantis is not playing. That's why I don't understand how he flubbed his presidential campaign. But he blew it. But at any rate, Florida is getting much safer now. It's becoming a more enjoyable place to live. All right.
The morale of ICE and Border Patrol is at all-time high because they're getting to uphold the oath they took, and they're enforcing the law. Border Patrol and the Biden administration, I met with hundreds of them. They felt like Uber drivers and tourist agents. These men and women joined the ranks of ICE and Border Patrol to enforce the law, make the community safer, and protect national security. I hear it all the time. There's a lot of people in this country who don't like me. I don't care. But when I walk through an airport, I have many people walking up to me and thank me for what I'm doing, and I'm not taking credit for anything. The success of the border and immigration enforcement is President Trump and the men and women wearing that uniform. God bless each and every one of them. But I take a pleasure in seeing it because in 40 years of doing this job, people always want to say, why are you so emotional when you testify? Why are you so emotional on network? Because if they wore my shoes for 40 years, they'd understand why I'm emotional. I've talked to little girls as young as 9 years old that were raped multiple times by the cartel members. And when you get to your knees and you talk to that little girl and everything innocent and pure has been ripped from her, when you listen to Lake and Riley, 17 minutes, that young lady fighting for her life, don't just think, okay, a young woman died. Think of how she died, the terror that she went through, and these children that are sexually assaulted. I stood in the back of a tractor trailer and 19 dead people at my feet that baked to death. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. And so every sick person we take off the streets, especially child rapists, it makes this country much safer. Every illegal alien we arrest, public safety threat, one at a time makes this country safer. But I got one thing I need to say real quick before I leave.
Take your notes from me, Tom.
Take my notes from me. I'm going to read it. I don't want any misinterpretation when I'm reading it.
Without the glasses,
the
old man.
registration requirements under 8 U.S.C. 1302. If you're illegal alien in the United States, this message is for you. You cannot hide from ICE. We're actively looking for you. Federal law requires every alien in the United States who has been present in the United States for more than 30 days needs to register. For those 14 years or older, you need to be fingerprinted with the Department of Homeland Security. Federal law requires every alien in the United States to tell DHS in writing if you have a change of address within 10 days of changing that address. Failing to register with DHS and failure to tell DHS about your new address are criminal offenses, and they're going to be treated as such. Starting today. Make no mistake, if you're in the country illegally and you fail to do what the law requires, we will prosecute you, you will go to jail, then we'll deport you. Second law, penalties for failure to depart, 8 U.S.C. 1253. If you're alien inside the United States who has a final order, this message is for you. If you have a final order, the Trump administration is committed to enforcing our immigration laws, especially for those aliens who have received final orders of deportation. There are currently around 1.4 million illegal aliens who've been ordered removed, but remain here in violation of the law. We will aggressively prosecute, consistent with long-standing law, those aliens for failing or refusing to depart, or who takes other related actions aimed at hindering their removal. You cannot open the door. You cannot answer our questions. You cannot open your car door. You consider it to evade law enforcement. If you fail to leave the United States after receiving a removal order, we can and will issue monetary fines up to $998 a day. Evading your arrest, knowing you have a final order or removal, is a criminal offense. We will prosecute, then we'll deport you. Get your affairs in order. If you're in the country illegally, work with ICE, go to CBP 1 home app, and leave on your own. Because we have to find you, deport you, and prosecute you. You'll have a bar placed under you, and you won't come back to this country. You won't be able to come back on a visitor's visa, a tourist visa. If you have your citizen child, can't petition for you. If you're in this country, get your affairs in order and work with us and get yourself removed from this country. That's what the law requires, and we're going to enforce that law.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. You can get back to work now. Look, he's already leaving. He's got a lot to do, a lot of illegal.
Mic drop.
But thanks everyone for joining us bright and early this morning. As I said at the top, we will do this again tomorrow to talk about the economy, which is another promise made and kept by the president. And I'll be joined by the Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, 8:30 tomorrow morning. Today, the president is welcoming the Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles. If we have any Philly fans, that will be at 4 o'clock. And then the president will sign those executive orders I spoke of and a few others at 5 p.m. So we'll see you all later. Have a great day.
All right, so I guess tomorrow we got another Karoline Livid Sniper. Caroline's Crosshairs. They're gonna talk about the economy. I didn't know what they were talking about today, but I had a feeling they were gonna talk about immigration with Tom Holman. I figured they were gonna talk about those two cases with those two judges, well, one judge, one retired judge, which was very stupid of them, the judges. But no one is above the law. Ain't that what they said? Y'all be safe. I'll catch y'all in the morning.
What do you have? Go ahead. No, that's enough. Go ahead.
But that wasn't my question.
The problem is you don't write the truth. So, as far as I'm concerned, I want to go to the next
Can I ask you a question about...
No, not CNN, please. Go ahead.
The White House is not responded to...
I told you. CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me. Go ahead, please.
But he says he was retaliated against, and that's why he was removed from his job. Do you have a response to that?
Okay, next question.
Mr. President, I have...
Because Trump bad. Trump bad.
All right, bye. Thanks for the fun.